What's up guys, theBolderBoulder here, and today I'm going to be reviewing my latest Bionicle MOC, Kreep. As you can see, this guy is evil, and he's very tall, very strong, and he's got plenty of armor everywhere. And he was actually originally a Matoran, but I'll get to the reason why he is like this now in a moment. But first I'll show you a size comparison with him and an Agori, and this is Barracks, so nearly twice the size of that. And here is Kina, the Glatorian legend, and as you can see, still taller. Alright, now back to his backstory. You can see these little red things right here and here on his wrists. There are actually two right here on his legs. Got one on his chest, one right here on this chained necklace, and another one on his back. He is pretty much obsessed with these stones. Anywhere he can find them, he'll try to get them. So, I'll tell you a little bit more of history about these stones. These were called shadow stones, and they're pretty much an evil in itself. Long ago, there was a civilization of Matoran who were looking for special materials and stones and metals that they would be able to sell or trade with other civilizations or tribes of Matoran. So they decided to go into mining. They were able to trade with other people to get other resources, but they knew these special resources would be able to help a lot. So they started mining. They found plenty of other materials, but one that fascinated them the most were these things, the shadow stones. They were opposite of light stones. Instead of illuminating like the light stones, it actually absorbs light. So they always knew whenever a cave was especially dark and very hard to light up, there were exposed shadow stones. So they eventually brought in some other light stones to help light up the room, and every person had to carry a light stone with them or have it on a necklace just to be able to see where they are. So it was pretty hard doing that, but they eventually were able to get a few samples. But they never knew that these shadow stones were pretty much addictive. Whenever you're exposed to one for long periods of time, you eventually want them more and more. And you want more. So they would take these stones in large quantities and take them out of the caves, and almost like the light stones would have illuminating light around it, but these would just be darkness surrounding it. It's almost scary. The only thing that glows was red and then the black around it, which was quite odd. But they found it very fascinating. So they would find them and even try to sell them to other people. merchants would take them into their shops. But they never realized long exposure to these would make them want them more and more. So people would start wanting them more and more. And there was one richer Matoran who had plenty of money, so he'd go out and buy a bunch of these stones because he was pretty much addicted to them. And even longer exposure to them, like holding them or just having them near you if you sit down or something, it eventually mutates your body to make it possible to get more stones any way you can, even if you have to smash through things to get to these stones. It'll change you like that. So it's eventually started mutating this guy, and then people realized, uh-oh, this stuff's doing some crazy things to people. And so they even found that some of the merchants were wanting bigger quantities because they were eventually addicted to them. So they would try to get more, but they eventually stopped mining them. And the miners eventually had to find new jobs, and they couldn't mine those. So all the mines that had shadow stones were all closed. But there were a few caves that were unclosed. But they never went near them. They were dubbed the name the Forbidden Caves. So no one was to go out there and go into those caves. They eventually got rid of them. Any stones that they had left out there, they eventually took in large containers and dumped them into the mines and sealed them off, so no one else would have to deal with that stuff. But this guy secretly had more shadow stones with him. So he would secretly go out to mines that were accidentally left open, or he would find ways to break in, because the stones would eventually mutate him, making him bigger and much stronger. And he'd eventually break into them and steal them just because it just made him feel better whenever he got a new one. But it made him even want more and more. So eventually, some Matoran were able to capture this guy when he was a bit shorter than this, and chained him up inside a cell. But the stone's power still stayed in his body, making him bigger and still getting stronger. He eventually broke out of the prison cell and smashed through the door and escaped, and no one ever saw him again. And he would just lurk around the Forbidden Caves. So that was another reason no one was to go near the Forbidden Caves. So no one did. Everybody was scared to go into the caves because they were afraid they might meet up with this guy, or someone might become mutated by the power of the shadow stones. So eventually he just got used to the chains being on his body, so he eventually implanted shadow stones into these chains on his wrists and his neck. So now he's still looking for shadow stones. Anything he can find of them, he takes. He's become a very big problem to anyone who opposes him. He'll do anything because of his mutations. And because of the mutations, it changed his body in ways that he was not able to be able to control. So he got robotic parts. on him that help him control his body more, which made him even bigger problem. Now, I believe he's on his final stage of mutation. It won't be able to change him very much anymore. Now, it's just his want for the shadow stones that keeps him moving. As you can see, he's got this big jaw. And he's got these large hands. He's got spikes all over the place. This guy's very creepy and intimidating. Hence the name, Kreep. And here on his back, we've got more things. We've got the other shadow stone on his back. And these are the extra support things right here. I just cover them up with these. These aren't really wings, it's just more of like armor or something. And on his legs he's got even more support things right here. And right here on his leg. I have to say his legs look pretty cool. They turned out pretty good. Overall, I'd have to say this guy is really cool. I mean, how would you like it if you had to meet up with this guy? Pretty sure it would not be very good at all. Eventually, he was able to use mind control over different things because of the mutations. And like I said, it changes your body anyway, so you're able to get these shadow stones. So, he's able to use mind control on different things. He can make things levitating, just use his mind and motioning his hand. So this guy is very evil. And he's now more of a legend because people haven't seen him in so long. There's some people who question his existence, but these shadow stones pretty much keep him alive now. And if anyone meets up with this guy, they want to deprive him of his shadow stones so they're able to defeat him. Because these shadow stones are pretty much the source of his power. If they're taken away, it makes him want them even more and more. Makes him go into a rage, really. So, if anyone's gonna meet up with this guy, you're gonna have to get rid of those shadow stones. And he'll eventually pretty much destroy himself because his body was mutated by the stones. And deprive him of the stones, his body will turn back to his original Matoran form. About this size. So, that's pretty much the only way to defeat this guy, is to deprive him of his shadow stones. The more you take away from him, the weaker he gets, but the more angrier he gets, and the more he wants them. So, I suppose that's about it for now. Thank you guys a lot for watching, and I will see you guys later. Be sure to check out my Facebook and my blogspot pages. I try to update those frequently, so please be sure to check those out, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye.